Hi, welcome to Camp Chats. I am managing editor Hillary Bird here at Chicago Parent, and this is part of our Chicago Parents Virtual Camp Fair Week. We are with Colette Marquardt she's the executive director of the American Camp Association here in Illinois. Welcome, Colette.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, fantastic. We are really excited to wrap up all of our conversations talking about the memories that are made at camp. And I'm sure you hear it all the time because I have a billion memories of camp, and I'm sure you do. You've been in camp for so long.
Yeah, it's one of what I consider the best parts of my job is that when I tell people what I do, adults, it's the eyes light up. If they went to camp, and most adults have gone to some sort of camp, whether it's day or overnight, and they'll be like, "Oh, I went to camp and it was the best." And they'll talk about some memories, they'll talk about their experiences. If they remember the details about their tent or their friends or their counselors, they'll talk about those. And it's all ages. I was on a bus one day with somebody who looked to be maybe in her 90s. And she saw in my tote bag, it said, the best summer is at camp. And she's like, I went to Girl Scout camp. And here's this woman, talking about her camp experience. And the whole, bus ride for the next 20 minutes was all about the time when she was at camp and counselors and her friends. And, many people remain friends with their whether the people in their cabins. I mean, I've been in many of my camp friends' weddings over the years. And cared for their babies. And, it's remarkable what stays with you and the connections you make.
Oh, that's so cool. And that's one of the great things about camp is that, even if it's day camp, giving kids the opportunity, parents allowing their kids that opportunity to create those memories and, and randomly approach people on a bus and tell them how much they love camp. So I too love that about camp, this idea of letting your kid create their own memories that aren't school related, they're not necessarily family related. It's something that they did. And they did that they can sort of own themselves. That's sort of fun.
Yeah, it's so true. Michael Thompson, who was a well-known author on child psychology, right? I was in a talk with him once. He wrote the book Homesick and Happy. And he asked this room of adults, there was about 1,000 adults in the room, and he said, close your eyes, tell me about, and he had to stand up and he said, close your eyes, think about your favorite childhood memory. And then he said, how many, and we opened our eyes, and he said, how many sit down if that memory didn't include your parents? And only a couple. And it's not because we didn't have great memories with our parents, but that it's important for children to experience and, like you said, create their own memories and their own narrative. And it's a really powerful thing for children to be able to go to camp, have their experience that doesn't include you, and then to come home and talk about it at the dinner table, because they get to own that memory, share the parts they want to share the parts that, you're going to hear the very best parts to them and what meant a lot to them because you weren't there to see it. So, it's very much like you're going to get a kind of a window into the interests of your child, the feelings of your child, what's important to your child. And so I definitely encourage you to, if it's a day camp, ask them at dinner, what was the best part of camp, or what activity did you try? Open-ended questions are better than yes, no, right? Because you're going to get the yes, camp, was camp good today? Yes. And then, it's going to end there possibly. So, right. It's just like when they come home from school. But, if they come home from overnight camp, one of my favorite memories was my dad would pick me up at the bus stop, and we would stop for lunch because we were kind of still far from home, and we'd stop for lunch, and I would just get to jabber on about camp for you know, that whole time. I'm sure his head was spinning, but again, I was able to share my experience and the parts I wanted to share and the parts that were important to me.
Right. What other things, and that's fantastic. What kinds of things can parents do to help facilitate and sort of keep those memories? And whether it's a scrapbook or, even videotaping their kids, because one of mine is singing songs with my sister on the way home, all the songs we learned,
Yes.
which takes hours. And I'm sure by the time we got home, my parents were like, we're done. Yeah. But I can't remember the words to half of those. I wish at some point we'd have recorded those. But that kind of thing, of how can parents help keep some of those memories so that 20 and 40 years from now they can remember them all?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, check into the camp's policy about pictures. And, when we were kids, we had the camera with the roll of film. There were very little policies because it wasn't digital. Many camps today have camp photographers, and they'll post pictures onto an online platform, a safe, secure platform. Maybe sitting down with your child when they get home and asking which of those pictures do they want prints of to create that scrapbook. And then even going further, there are wonderful digital scrapbooks, but I also encourage you to consider getting the prints made and doing old-fashioned scrapbooks, because again, that helps to stimulate the creativity. And then when they're gluing down the picture and the stickers that go with it, they're going to be talking about this memory of this, their pictures of camp. Some camps will allow digital cameras. Again, some will say we prefer to take our own. They're going to be very careful about that because of that digital footprint, because of your child's digital footprint, wanting to really protect that. So check in with your camp. Recording, asking like, hey, do you want to record some of those camp songs? I think there's so many tools today that weren't available to us in the same way. And how cool is that, right? Like to be able to have some of that is really important.
I didn't think about it when our littlest went to day camp the first time, but they kept sending home, art projects. There's a little part of me that wishes we'd have saved them. And, we don't, because when you've got preschoolers, you don't save everything.
Right.
But it's different, I think, when it is a camp memory and it's something that they can talk about and say, okay, this week was Cowboy Week, and these are the things that we did and we remember. So, now, I think the next time we'll remember to save some of those so that they can, look back or even start a lifelong album, as big as it ends up being, of, okay, this was your first camp. And then, by the time they get to something maybe a little bit more specialized, you get a little bit bigger.
Yeah. And you can take pictures of the art projects like you might with your school, because I'm sure they are coming home with a lot of different projects. Asking them maybe if they were at overnight camp, what's their favorite meal? Would they like to help find that recipe online and cook it with you? And that's going to stimulate some good conversations around their memories around camp, because we know that time, meal times, camps, you tend to sit with your cabin, or many camps are sort of family style. So that's a skill set that kids get at camp, and they can bring that home. Did they learn how to set the table at camp? Many camps they do, right? At Girl Scout camp, I was a Girl Scout camp director. Kids set the table, and getting them involved will help them just talk about their memories and reinforce them.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, these have all been wonderful ideas. Colette, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.